Hello and welcome to the Giving Voice to Depression podcast, brought to you by Recovery.com, the best place to find mental health and addiction treatment for anyone, anywhere.
Each week, we profile a guest who shares openly about their mental health journey. They share because they understand that when people don't talk about their depression or other mental health conditions, those of us who do struggle with them can feel like we're the only ones, that there's something wrong with us and that no one understands. We understand.
I'm Terry McGuire, the creator and co-host of this podcast. You have my promise that we'll keep it real here. Depression is real, and we're not going to sugarcoat our discussions about it.
Hope is also real, and you'll get a dose of that here too. I'm Carly McCullough, a licensed social worker and educator, and Terry's daughter. We've both experienced depression and also support loved ones struggling with it. We're here to normalize talking about depression and mental health in our communities, as well as our families.
And to share real-world tested strategies that have worked for other people who have walked similar paths. Thanks for joining us. We record a couple new interviews each month and also replay some of our best ones from the archive so that newer listeners don't miss out on those.
This episode is from when Dr. Anita Sands was co-hosting.
Hello, Anita.
Hi, Terry. Before we dive into today's episode, we want to share some good news. This podcast was just named the #1 depression podcast by FeedSpot, from thousands considered, based on traffic, social media followers, and freshness. Not quite sure what freshness means, but we'll take it. Freshness, that's right. We thank you for listening and encourage you to share it with your networks so more people can experience the benefits of hearing our guests' weekly stories. Cara Mackerleen lives in Belfast in Northern Ireland. This interview is just a perfect example of the wisdom of lived experience. We can talk to people who are highly educated about depression, but we can also talk to someone who lives with it. And there is something different about the inside perspective. And Cara shares freely, both about her own experience with the darkness and the lessons that she has learned as a result. Here now is Cara giving her voice to depression.
Well, let me start right where the reason I wanted to talk to you, because when you wrote, "The raw happiness that I feel after darkness reminds me why I hold on each and every time." And that's just a story we don't hear often enough. I mean, we never want to sugarcoat things or fairy tale it or tie things up in a neat little bow and say and then we're happy forever, because that just isn't the way it works. But we do come out of the darkness a lot.
We do.
And I just would love to hear about that experience for you.
Yeah, the happiness after the darkness is more euphoric each time, and my emotions are more it's not very flat line. I don't just experience a wee bit of sadness and a wee bit of happiness. I experience debilitating sadness, but then also really amazing happiness, and happiness on a really heightened level where it is euphoric, and I feel very grateful for the happiness each time, because I know what the opposite feels like. And whenever you are experiencing darkness, you don't think you're ever going to feel the happiness again. Yes. So then it's almost like the shock of it as well. It's oh, I thought I wasn't going to experience this again. So that's where the gratitude comes from it.
And I think so many people think that depression is always that deep sadness you described. And for many of us, it is a nothingness a lot of the time. It's just meh, nothing. You're supposed to feel really happy because you're in a situation that sort of suggests it should be happy, or you should feel sad, but you just kind of feel nothing.
Yeah, I've definitely, sort of that numbness. I have experienced that before, but for me it is almost just that real sadness, and you can almost feel it in your stomach, and your surroundings are almost tinted as grey, nothing is good in life, and you're not excited for the future because you don't think the future is going to be good. You're not excited for the next day. Your alarm goes off in the morning and you just don't want, that is the worst sound ever. You just don't want to wake up,
While Kara experiences sadness, she's clear that depression as an illness or disorder is so much more than any single symptom.
It can really impact everything in our lives. So yeah, I think, it is an illness, just like, we have physical illnesses, we have mental illnesses, and one of those mental illnesses is depression,
Kara has been dealing with depression since her teens, though, as is true for many of us, it wasn't named or diagnosed until years later.
It's a very rough time. I now realise that they were issues that were impacting my life, but at 16 you didn't really think they were impacting, because to you it was just the norm,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in and out, until maybe my early 20s. I just remember just feeling really, really sad, but because I was young, I didn't really know much about it, and I thought everybody felt like this, and I just didn't really care a lot. I didn't really have a lot of hope for the future, and I just sort of plodded along every day. And as I said, I just thought that was the norm. I thought that's how we lived, really.
And since nobody talks about it, we don't know.
Exactly, yeah. And I didn't really grow up with a lot of happiness around me either, if you understand.
I do.
I grew up with mental illness and very close to me, hence why I just thought this was the norm. Yeah, there were times where I just didn't want to be here in general, and that thought was there for quite some time, where I did try and take action a couple of times. And I think that's why we need to really talk why depression is an illness that can lead us to just thinking that life is not worth living.
Kara says fast forward to just last year, when she did what she calls the best thing she could have ever done for her mental health.
I've been to therapy, but this was the first time in therapy that I talked about what I needed to talk about. But due to that, it almost made me feel worse in a sense. But I had to do this, and I have to do this. I need to process these things and become aware that wasn't the norm. And I did go through, trauma. And it was the first time where we sort of validated that the word trauma. And I was sort of saying, it's not trauma, but but yeah, there was traumatic events that did impact. It was quite a difficult year.
I've actually used the metaphor of when, like, you decide to clean out a drawer. You got to take all this stuff out, and you make a bigger mess before you can put it back.
Yeah.
With
Brilliant.
therapy, sometimes when you have to unpack what you didn't even apparently identify as traumatic, it's going to be a mess until it's not. So I do get it. And I've done it. I'm doing it. Of course, it's not a thing that you finish. So tell me the benefit of having your experiences named, labeled as traumatic, how that has played out in your mental health journey.
Yeah, so for one, it validated it for me, and it almost made me say to myself, wait, I actually didn't deserve that, if you understand. So it was the validation of it, because in a sense I was sort of underplaying it and minimizing it. But I think someone saying to me that, no, that is trauma, it was difficult to accept, but I think I feel better knowing that, that it was traumatic. And there's a sense of sort of like, right now in therapy, we're sort of almost in a sense paying gratitude to my difficulties because of how it's made me grow into who I am today. And it's so cliche that you have to, you grow through what you go through, but you actually really, really, really do. Yeah. And, it was so difficult. But I wouldn't be the person I am today without it.
And of course, that doesn't mean we liked it or would wish it. There are all kinds of ways that people grow without trauma.
Absolutely.
But we can grow through it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it is. Therapy is it has really been one of the things that has saved me throughout the darkness, 100%.
May I ask, what had you say, you know what, I need to get back into it? I'm assuming, like the rest of us, you go in and out of therapy. But was there something that made you say, I need some help?
Yeah, so it was July 2021 that I remember just having a really, really, really dark night. I was sort of driving and I just remember sobbing my eyes out. And as I said before, everything felt dark. And the feeling of hopelessness was actually really quite scary. And I was just, this is what my life is going to be like forever. As I said, felt very hopeless, out of control with my emotions. That cry was just sobbing, and it was like almost like years of just hurt. Yeah. But I just researched on Google, counselors near me, and I just emailed a counsellor. I didn't really think too much into it. As I said, that feelings of hopelessness was just there. I was saying to myself, I don't even care almost. Something within me obviously did, and something within me was saying, no, you don't deserve this, Cara. You need someone to guide you through this. It's too difficult to go through it alone. So I don't know how I drafted an email in that and how I was feeling, but I did. And the next day, then the counsellor, he then reached out to me, and then I had my first session. Wow. And when I tell you, I just spewed. It was almost like everything I had to talk about just came out so clearly, and I was so proud of myself that session.
Yay.
It was, this is what I'm struggling with. I can't do it anymore. I need, dun dun dun. I knew how I was feeling. And at the end of the session, Martin was just saying to me, you're on to something amazing here. So it was the wee bit of light that I needed in a very, very, very dark time. So yeah.
Good for you. It is hard. Yeah. It is hard to reach out for help. It is hard to think you deserve it. It's hard to come up with the energy. And I love that you didn't turn it into a great big project, because that lessens the likelihood we'll go through with it. You literally just Googled counselors nearby you and emailed one of them. That's great. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, thank you.
Was that a low point? Is that a word I can use to describe what made you do that?
A low point, but not the lowest. Yeah. So that was 2021. The lowest was probably 2022. So it just shows you that while in therapy, I did still have those low points, lowest, highest, high points. But therapy definitely guided me through those really, really, really low points.
Cara shares a short story to illustrate those fluctuations. A reminder that Martin is her therapist.
1 week I went in and I was feeling great. And I was saying to Martin, gosh, I haven't felt so great in quite some time. And I was feeling really good. And then the next session, then I just bawled my eyes out. So it just shows sort of the bumpiness of it and paying gratitude to the happiness, but also knowing that in the really dark times that you felt happiness the week before, and it's not impossible to get back to that, if that makes sense.
It does. I think of a visual that comes to mind is you see what people think recovery looks like. And here's the problem, and here's the recovery from it. And there's that lovely straight line between the two. And then what it really looks like. And it's, just this tangled ball of yarn with ups and downs and backs and forths. And, it is not a straight path.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, of course you do. You're living it.
If only.
If only, indeed.
I know.
Let's talk more about the light, because all of us who know the darkness, and as you said, when you're in it, you never think you'll get out. Sometimes when you're out, you don't expect to go back in either, but mostly very it's true. That you never think you'll get out. So let's talk about those. I call them flashes, like yesterday I had one, I was walking through the house and I was like, oh, I'm so blessed. And I thought, blessed? That's not a word that goes through my head real often, because I kind of am negative in general, even when I'm not depressed. And I consider those just little flashes of light, flashes of hope.
Wow.
What do you experience when you say, what word did you use? The snippets of happiness, the light that starts to come in through the cracks.
Yeah. I think I actually really relate to you whenever you say they're sort of just like almost flashes, whether it be you see two people hug on the street and that just gives you a wee bit of hope that love is possible, or you're sitting drinking a coffee and all you're kind of thinking about is the actual coffee and nothing else. And you say to yourself, I was actually content there for 10 seconds. I never thought I would actually be able to just enjoy coffee and not think about anything else. So yeah, it is just those wee snippets. You know, I don't take happiness for granted at all.
And Cara doesn't just not take the good snippets for granted. She makes a very intentional effort to document them as proof of their possibility for when she needs that reminder.
Like my happy days, I make sure to journal about it, because I think we tend to journal whenever we're in darkness, which is great. Yes. But let's also journal whenever we're feeling good, because then it'll remind us that it's possible. Or perhaps take pictures of something that made you happy. I always take pictures of coffee, of my dog. Take pictures and remind yourself of the good times. I've been there where everybody told me this. Everybody told me, Cara, you know, this is going to get better. And I almost rolled my eyes at them and I was like, you don't know that. How do you know? But it does. I'm telling you that now, you know, it really, really does. I don't know when. I don't know how. I don't know, you know, I don't know when, but it really, really does.
And that's the power of peer support, right? A reassurance like that, a message of hope from somebody who's been hopeless, just carries a different weight.
I think I just want to let people know that, like, no matter how dark it gets, and I keep using that word dark because that's the only way I can describe it, like everything is black and everything is grey and everything is really, really dark. Like no matter how dark it does get, like please just hold on. And I always say hold on. You don't have, you know, whenever we say hold on, we think about years and years. I can't live like this for years and years and years and thinking of, you know, but like hold on, whether it be until tomorrow. Okay? And then perhaps tomorrow you set yourself a goal. You know, you may, if you can't get out of bed, maybe just sit up. Maybe just sit up, you know. You don't have to get out of bed. Maybe just sit up. That'll give you a tiniest wee bit of accomplishment. The next day, perhaps, get out of bed, brush your teeth, whatever it may be. But take it so very slowly. Don't overwhelm yourself that, you know, don't think too far into in advance because you'll just think, but I can't live like this for years. Just say, okay, so I'm just going to hold on until tomorrow. Set yourself a goal for that day. And then hold on for the next day and the next and the next day. Because then what will happen is you'll actually look back and you'll actually maybe have held on for a month and a month and a month. And slowly you will, throughout those months, you will get little snippets of, as you say, Terry, flashes of light that'll make you hold on until the next day and the next day. Don't believe everything that your depression tells you. Like, please don't believe it. And yeah. You are a human being, and like you deserve to live, and you deserve to live a happy life.
Terry, I think Cara is just absolutely amazing. And one of the things that she just kind of keeps reiterating is what I think is also the most important thing, to hold on in dark moments, whether that's from depression or pain or illness or whatever it is. And it's not forecasting that you're just going to have more and more of the same in the future. And force yourself as hard as it is, because who wants to stay in the present moment when the present moment is awful? But we can handle the present moment. It's really hard if you forecast misery out into the rest of your life to think that you can keep hanging in there with that. So I just think of it. I know you're going to relate. You just had a cold, but you know, when we have a cold or we have a flu, you know, there's really not much we can do except wait it out and try to make ourselves as comfortable, as possible. Get your favorite tea, get your favorite, movie, get your favorite robe or your blanket and just wait it out and know that as miserable as you're feeling now, you're going to get better. And I kind of feel like this is what works, is just you wait it out.
Mm-hmm. And I like that one of the examples that Cara gave, when she saw a couple kiss, it would be very easy in depression to think, oh, they have what I will never have, what I don't deserve, as opposed to the way she interpreted it, which was as proof that there is love in the world. And so some of it is in our control. I used to really bristle when people would suggest, when I was in my depression, in a depression, it's not like I've only had one, but, to think better thoughts, to be more optimistic, and you just want to, but there is something to it. And in the times we can, if we can look at it, as you say, as not a permanent state, like I will always, but it's what you think. But, if any little bits of light can get, in, that helps so much.
Right. And you just brought up a really important thing, that incident where she saw the couple kissing. I think depression will want to sneak in and tell you that that's not for you. You don't deserve that. So I think too, when you see things that are out of your reach in the moment, but to say, this is possible for me too, or I deserve this as well. And just kind of speak back to that voice that would just say, you don't have it now, you're never going to have it, and say, no, it's possible. It's possible for me too in the future.
I like the I deserve it better. I think I would be more able to say that to myself than, oh, it's possible. But yes, I think that to say, like, I do deserve that, that would be a bit of a balm, because one of the things I've learned from our guests is, we as humans, not even just humans with depression, tend to find what we're looking for. So if we look for reasons and ways that, our value in the world is affirmed, we can usually find something. And if we look for ways that we have been discarded and discounted and, we have been made to feel worthless, we will find those too. So I like, she reminded me of a lot that I need to keep turning, that spotlight out of what it's on now that might be kind of bad, and to just sort of give it a little nudge in the direction of hope or, the possibility of a better future.
Yes. Yeah. She ended the interview by saying that you deserve to live, and you deserve to live a happy life.
Yeah.
Just true.
Yeah, I really
absolutely.
liked it.
We really hope that this discussion helps give some language or context to your own depression, or ideas for how to support someone else in your life living with it. We invite you to check out the hundreds of episodes in our archive and to explore both the Resource Hub and treatment options on recovery.com. Depression is too dark a road to walk alone.
We'll be back next week.